Hey, what's up? Matt Zook here. Let me see. What can I talk about for Fear Street? We shot all three of those movies in Georgia, back to back to back. We shot the 90s first, then we shot the 1600s, then we shot the 70s one. There was an actor playing the younger version of me in the 70s, so I didn't get to spend much time on set during that one, but you saw they did some really fun, some really cool stuff. For the 1600s one, we got to have a dialect coach. So there was someone working with us to do that accent that you heard. It was like an early American, old country Irish hybrid kind of thing, which was really cool. I hadn't really done anything like that before, so it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I just don't go out there.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Bryan, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate all the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on our website. Bryan's done a great job. You got all of our episodes and interviews from episode 1 all the way to the weekly release. You can check out our website for that. We've done some incredible interviews with horror legends in the past. Check out our interviews tab. It's a lot easier to find them than going through all of Apple Podcasts or Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. Definitely check those out. We have our store. We got some new T-shirts, some hats, mouse pads, all the good stuff. And we have Shan's Etsy page attached as well if you want to grab a tumbler. We also have all of our social media links, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. We love interacting with our fans. We just love meeting new people. We love answering your questions on the show, so definitely check us out on social media. The last thing we'll shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind if you want to help us basically just pay the bills to make this podcast. It's not free to host your files or make the YouTube videos, et cetera, et cetera. So it really takes a big burden off of us with your financial contributions. And we also have one-time donations if you're a big fan of a movie and you want us to review it. We just did a blood donor review, Constantine, this past week. So if you want us to review a movie, that option is available as well. Tonight we're kicking off just a freelance pick month. And it's Brother Bryan's pick. You want to announce your pick and why you picked it?
Yeah, I picked Fear Street 1994, and I picked this honestly because, whenever we did Fear Street 1978 a few reviews ago, I think Mike picked it. And I know I always plug don'tgoouthere.com, but listen to that after you do this one. And because, this is really an overarching story, over 3 movies. So they really do need to be watched together. But when we did 78, it really reminded me how much I love 94 as well. If I said it before, and if I haven't, I don't care, the 90s were my jam. Scream's my favorite horror franchise, as apparently it was also for director and co-writer Lee Janik, as she's only 2 years older than me. Now, I'll admit, it's not super easy to do these movies. It's just one standalone because of that overarching story I mentioned. But while I don't think it hurts this one too much, it does some because the storylines don't finish completely. It is a fun-ass watch. The kills are my favorite in the entire franchise. I think they're phenomenal. Now, I'll repeat what I said in the 78 review to an extent, in that I was a Goosebumps reader in the 90s, not a Fear Street one. It was just more in my age demographic. But when these came out on Netflix, it hit me on the nostalgia feels enough that I was like, okay, I'll give this trilogy a shot. And when I finished, I was like, holy shit, these are great. Thankfully, I was able to convince the guys to give them a shot, and somehow they listened to me after I caught so much hell for saying we maybe needed to review Army of the Dead, but not picking it. Damn you, Snyder, for sullying my good name in front of my friends.
Sounds like shenanigans. That sounds like
But yeah, that was a long way for me to say I love this trilogy, and being that this is my favorite one, I wanted to put it under the microscope for us.
All right, I'll go next. I like this movie a lot, too. I think it's really good, but it's not my favorite of the trilogy. 78 is my favorite. We've already done that one pretty recently, too, but I enjoy this one as well. Opening scene with Maya Hawke is great. Obvious, throwback to Scream 96. I think it's great. She does a great job. There are some things I don't like, just some of the dialogue, like some of the comments and questions we got, maybe stretched out a little too long, could have shortened the movie up a little bit. Some nitpicks, obviously, but I enjoy this movie a lot. Mike, you want to go next?
Yeah, I really like this one too. I mean, we did these instant reactions we did the instant reactions when these came out, and I believe the ones all of us that were on those liked all three of the movies as they happened in real time. So getting a chance to go back and see them a few more times since, I mean, they've grown on me so much. I really like 94. Now, 78 is my favorite, which I said in our review, which you can listen to at
weather.com.
Close enough. Okay. Yeah, you can listen to it at don'tgooutthere.com and Spotify and Apple and all your favorite podcast platforms. That's my favorite one. But I do like 94 for a lot of the reasons Bryan does, where it has that Scream feel. It's got that I Know What You Did Last Summer feel. Like, it's very 90s. It's very of its time as far as themes and moods and atmospheres and the songs, which I see a lot of complaints about the songs. I don't understand that. I know there's a lot of them, but like, I don't know. I just like 90s music, so I'm all the way in on that. And again, it feels like a Scream movie, and then sometimes it doesn't. It definitely takes itself more serious in a lot of ways than a Scream movie does. I will say I have a few nitpicks. The dialogue, which Nico mentioned, feels a little less 90s and a little more Gen Z-ish. Kind of like I'm watching Bodies, 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 and not a 94 film. Like, and that's not necessarily a knock. It's a nitpick only in the sense that it doesn't really fit with the end. But I do think they do a good job portraying what it's like to be gay in the 90s. That was a very concerted effort on the part of the filmmaker, and I think that they do a great job with that. Again, great kills. One of my honestly, this movie has one of my favorite horror movie kills of all time. I absolutely love it. I'm going to save it. But I think if you guys know me, I think you know which one I'm talking about. It is fucking awesome. Last thing, I think the cast, for just like how unknown most of these people are, to me, did a great job. Like, I'd never seen really any of them except for Maya Hawke in anything. And like you mentioned, it's like a mirror image of Drew Barrymore in 96. So like, that's a really cool thing for a lot of reasons that we'll get into. But I think the cast does a great job. Love the way the movie's shot. Very excited to talk about it because I love this trilogy.
Yeah, so I like this movie as well. I will say this, though. The first time I watched it, like back when we did an instant reaction, I think, when it first came out, I watched it, and then I watched the second one, obviously, when it came out, and then the third, so forth, and this was my favorite. Now, some time has passed, and I rewatched the second one, obviously, when we reviewed it, and I rewatched this one, and that's flip-flopped. It doesn't mean that I dislike this one. I do think it's a fun watch, but there are some things that we'll get into that I've got issues with, some nitpicks maybe, but just some overall issues that I have. I think that the pacing is kind of stop and go too much for me. We get good pacing that slows it way down, and we get some stuff that really doesn't advance any storyline. It's just kind of there. And then we pick the action back up, and, we'll get into that. But overall, Mike, you said it, one of my favorite kills that I've ever seen in a movie happens is this might be one of the rare times where we all have unanimous favorite kills. And, I don't know that for sure, but I'm sure it's going to be close. But it's enjoyable. I said it when we did 78 or the sequel, whichever way you want to refer to it, that I think that this is it's a nice movie to like kind of intro people to horror because transition you from the goosebump and the kids type horror movies, and then trying to ease into more hardcore stuff. This is a great movie for young adults, and the nostalgia is great, Bryan. But we're going to get into it. One of my big issue is that the movie takes place in 1994, but 1994 in this universe is the entire 90s. Because there's some shit that goes on that was not in 1994, didn't come out till later.
Sounds great.
But
sounds great.
That's okay. But overall, it is an enjoyable movie. It's just not my favorite in the trilogy.
I will say one small nitpick, and you mentioned the nostalgia, which again, love the 90s. I do, but it is kind of nostalgia porn in a sense that like kind of the whole movie tries to be a very I know it's supposed to take place, but like they really hit you over the head with 90s movie tropes, 90s music, 90s clothes. Again, the dialogue doesn't really fit sometimes, but again, it's not a bad thing. It just is very, very of its time, very in your face. Where I don't feel like 78 does that like totally groovy, like I don't feel like it does that. I just feel like it's kind of in that time period. I don't know. I thought that was a small difference. Are you on an episode of South Park? Oh, you don't like the 90s? Sorry.
Farmer Fran over here.
Farmer Fran.
I've got your nostalgia porn.
Home Away, you make it. Oh, sorry, wrong movie.
All right, and I agree with you guys. There's one thing I feel like with this movie compared to something like Stranger Things. I feel like some of the nostalgia and the time that they're trying to recreate doesn't feel as natural as like a Stranger Things. Like it just feels more flowing and all that. But it's just I'm just nitpicking. I still like the movie. Any more opening thoughts before we just jump into it? All right, let's get it, guys. The film starts with Heather dealing with a tough customer as she shoots her a bird. The lights go out in the bookstore as the mall closes. She answers a call from Ryan, a fellow mall worker, who suddenly hangs up. She calls out his name as she walks into the mall. She sees the janitor and is jump scared from behind by a blow-up doll with Ryan. He gives her a soda and they walk away. He yells out, "What?" But Heather says she didn't say anything. She locks his store up, but not completely shutting the roll-down door. She hears a book fall to the floor and goes and puts it up. She hears another noise and calls out, "Hello?" Another book on the floor, and she's annoyed and spooked now. We see a cloaked figure, and she turns around and Skull Mask goes to stab her, but the book blocks it. She makes it out the store and into another store and calls 911. She says she's in the Shady Side Mall, but drops the phone when she sees Skull Mask. He finds her in the store and they squabble, but she hides again. She hits him with a lamp and runs into the mall where she sees 3 dead bodies. She runs but is stabbed from behind. He drags her and turns her over, stabbing her in the chest. She pulls his mask off, revealing it's Ryan. He's shot from behind in the head by Sheriff Nick Good. Opening credits now with a news reporter speaking on Shadyside as we see newspaper articles on the town and the deaths. Title card with a screen. We meet Dina now, who's writing a letter to her ex, Sam. Her alarm goes off and we see a news reporter with Nick Good about the death in the mall. He says there were 7 victims and the killer was deceased. Dina calls out for Josh, who is in an AOL Shadyside Killer chat room. They're chatting on all the killers who have just gone crazy. Josh says it's the Skull Mask killer who came back as Dina rips the sheet from over him. She tells him it's time for school and he tells her about the Skull Mask killer. We see a close-up of a flyer about Sarah Fear, the one-handed witch. We're in school now as we see Josh checking out Kate. Dina is getting annoyed from all the couples kissing. People have left notes on Heather's locker. Kate tells Dina it's the witch, Sarah Fear. They go into the bathroom and see writing on the stalls. She says this town made him go crazy. Dina asks Kate to take Sam a package, but she refuses. Kate shows Dina all the drugs in the package Simon had in the vent. We see a student distastefully dragging a Heather doll behind him as he runs through the hall. A coach tells them that all players, cheerleaders, and band members are required to attend a candlelight vigil before the game for the victims. Dina boards the bus as they head to the vigil. The mayor of Sunnyvale speaks to the crowd and he says he mourns with them. Dina sees Ham hugged up with a football player. Dina sits down by herself as Sam walks up to her. She kicks the box over to Sam and walks away. Sheriff now speaks to the crowd. Sam chases her down and asks to talk. The two argue over the breakup and both blame each other. A Sunnyvale player says we should just burn down the shitty city. The football players begin to fight now. Sheriff breaks it up and we're back on the bus as Kate speaks to the others. She says we're going to go kick those peppy assholes. A car races up behind the bus with its brights on, honking the horn. A Sunnyvaler throws glass bottles at them, and Dina sees Sam in the car. Dina opens a cooler, and she and Kate accidentally throw the cooler at the car when Kate sees Dina's nose bleeding. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
So, honestly, it's kind of hard for me not to love this opening scene, right? I mean, 100% homage to Scream, like Nico mentioned, even down to the soundtrack. Marco Beltrami scored this, and if that sounds familiar, that would be because he's the composer for Scream as well. Lee even used camera styles from Scream, and like Mike mentioned, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and those were all mirrored throughout the slashers of the 90s, so those feel very familiar. You've got Maya Hawke and her whole death scene basically being Casey Becker's death from Scream, and Ryan's death being the same as Billy's. And you know what? I fucking love it. something about it taking place in the mall as well really does it for me. Hits all the nostalgic buttons, even if it is the deadest mall I've ever seen. But that kind of seems like a theme throughout this movie. I noticed this time that really is a nitpick of mine. I'll bring up the whole entire time. I like the design on the skull mask. Definitely the homage to Scream mask, and also simple, like something you'd be able to find at a Halloween costume store, which I love. Also lifted from R.L. Stine's Halloween Night 2 book, from what I understand. A little fun fact from IMDb right off the bat, playing into the meta aspect of Scream as well. We get all of the replicas of the Fear Street books at the bookstore being written by Robert Lawrence, which is the real life name and what the RL stands for, and R.L. Stine. I love everything about the sunny side versus shady side thing. The few people from my hometown that maybe listen to this will probably agree that this was, at least when I was growing up, was the way people saw Milton versus Pace in all aspects of this. With all the homages, I like how Lee and the other writers flipped some tropes as well, though, updating them. You have that usual love interest and how it's a trope to be dating the wrong side or the wrong guy from the other side of the tracks, that the parents, don't approve of. Here it's changed to the wrong girl from the other side of the tracks, and Sam and Dina. And I agree with Mike. I think it works great. Those two have fantastic chemistry, and it's believable. Their encounter under the stadium I thought was great. Unlike another forced relationship we get later on, but we'll get there. Simon is basically playing a rendition of Stu Macher, and Kate is a little bit of a twist on Tatum, the way I took the characters too. Again, fine with it, love it. So yeah, I think the opening's pretty great. Now, is it super believable? I mean, no. But where are all the adults during that fight too? There's literal police there. Why is the bus driver so nonchalant about all the shit that's going on in the back of the bus? I think I would have liked to maybe seen the bus driver maybe have some sort of hatred of their own of Sunnyside and cheering them on, because otherwise it kind of seems unbelievable. But hey, I didn't write the fucking movie. Also, I kind of thought it was established that the nosebleed thing was when the witch or evil was near. So not sure why Dean is bleeding on the bus, unless I missed something. But all in all, good start in my opinion.
Yeah, just right off the bat, everything you said about this opening scene is literally almost what I have in my notes. Like, it's an homage to Scream. It's not just an homage. It's a damn near copy of it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. Like, it was very well recreated, done just a little bit differently because of the setting. Really love it. It mirrors Casey Becker. Not only that, though, when you think about it, Maya Hawke is the perfect choice here because she's a well-known young actress. Drew Barrymore was a well-known young actress. They're both from acting families. Like it's all there. Like, there's a lot of meta and a lot of Scream there for sure. So I really like that. I love the cold open, and I love the title sequence where we get some different newspaper clips. Like all that stuff, I really just enjoy. It's getting me involved in the story before I even know what the story is. I really like the character of Dina. Like, I know there's some complaints online about her. I don't really see that. Like, I think she's a very strong character in this movie, and you get this interaction with her and her brother Josh that I think is very normal. Now, I don't really like what they do with Josh later, and I think that's something Bryan's going to talk about. It appears, but because he's the way he's brought in just doesn't really fit what they do with him later. But I do like the character of Josh, so I like this brother sister duo whose dad really isn't in the picture. All of that stuff, I think that's perfect. I love how they flip the relationship on its head. How it's a lesbian relationship. I think that's really cool. The way it's done, the way it's presented, and I love the character of Kate. She's sassy. She's funny. She makes good jokes, solid one-liners. The character of Simon, however, really fucking annoying, honestly. I think he's a really fucking annoying character. So, yep. But every movie needs one. Every movie needs one annoying-ass character to me, especially in these, teen slashers. So I think at least there is one in this. Here's my opinion on Sunnyvale versus Shady Side, which I have to say slow because I have a lisp and a stutter, and if I don't, I'm going to say Shady Side. So I have to make sure I slow my words down there, which is abnormal for me. But I like this stuff, and I think it kind of plays in better in 78 than it does here. But I will say, this scene at the football field for for Heather that was killed, it reminds me a lot of the football scene from The Faculty. And I know they're two completely different scenes, but the way it's shot and the way it kind of just looks and feels, it kind of reminds me of the one in The Faculty Now, I will say, in this scene where they're kind of talking back and forth between towns, I think the dialogue is kind of cringe. I think there's some pretty bad stuff here that, Bryan says it's not super believable, but I mean, it's not that it's not believable. It's that I don't think people talk in real life the way these teens were talking to each other. Even in 1994, there's no way. So I don't like that aspect. I think some of the dialogue in this movie could be cleaned up some. Last thing, the scene on the bus is great. Like, I actually really enjoy it. I think it's intense. I love the lighting on it, but it's also not realistic, as Bryan said. Like, you're going to tell me that bus driver's not stopping one time? Not even once. As you throw a cooler out of the back of the car, like, out of the back of the bus. Like, I don't know, man. That seems a little unrealistic to me. But, again, there's a lot of good here. I think it gets me involved in the story very quickly and starting to set up lore for the rest of the film series.
Yeah, it's a very relatable moment for me in the right on the onset of the movie with the retail worker dealing with a prick and then flipping them off behind their back. Like, yeah, if you've worked retail, you definitely feel that. But and then I like, Bryan, like you mentioned, I love that the books on the shelves are pinned by Robert Lawrence. That was a great little Easter egg there. Then we get a great song choice with 9 Inch Nails Closer, and it's phenomenal, the soundtrack. Now, one of the things that I mentioned a while ago about how this movie's all over the 90s, the soundtrack is part of it. Like a lot of the songs they used were not released in 1994. They weren't released until 95, 96, 97. But that's okay. You could forgive it. And then one of the things, though, is this movie has a lot of gaps in logic and realistic. Now, aside from what we're going to get into with dead people coming back and being killers, aside from that, there's gaps in realistic logic and just normal things. Like, I worked in the mall for 8 years at 3 different malls, as a matter of fact, as a manager of Finish Line shoe stores. And the mall was never this dark while there's still people in it, regardless if it's just employees.
Yes.
Like, the fact that all the lights were off in the mall and they had looked like just closed, it's a little unbelievable. But, another thing is, I'm not victim blaming. That's not what I do. But you can't just leave the store with the gate up and then not secure it, not pull it all the way down when you get back in the store. She left it wide open for an intruder there. And then also, this mall has the worst security I've ever seen. Paul Blart's rolling over in his grave. That was just like, all this shit's going down. There's not a security officer in sight. Well, that's okay. And then it's very dramatic reveal of Ryan being the killer. I love the way that's done. It really pulls at the heartstrings, because even though we know nothing about these people, we know nothing about these characters other than their names, it seems like they had a good relationship. And it seems like, the fact that it was Ryan hurt worse than the fact that she was being stabbed. But I do love that, her being stabbed and pulling the mask off like that was basically a scene-by-scene recreation of Scream. I thought that's a nice nod. Certain times, certain ways movies can do stuff like that and it'd be overkill, but I didn't get that feeling at all in this one. And then you mentioned the title card and the opening credit sequence. I thought that was very visually appealing. It's busy. There's a lot going on, but it works. You get a great score during all this, and it's just a great way to feed you tidbits to paint a picture about what's going on with this storyline. And it just feels very 90s like. The font they used, which I know Bryan can appreciate, fonts and graphics. I thought this was a great title card sequence here. And then when I was watching this do my notes, I put in here, now I'm too young to know what it was really like in 1994. I was like 6, but I feel like instant messaging online wasn't a thing. And then I looked it up and it wasn't. AIM, which is what they were using, didn't come out it wasn't released until 1997. So this is another one of those huge leaps in logic that they took in this movie that just kind of irritate me from a nitpick standpoint. I mean, it's a detail. It's all in the details, man. Go ahead, Bryan.
AOL is a messenger. You may be 100% right, but before that, messaging was just part of AOL. Like it was just in AOL. So you could message other people that were online on AOL at the time. They just separated them
Did it look like
When I
that?
was in 7th grade. Now I don't remember it looking like that at all. But
See, because I feel like in my household, I could be wrong about this too, but I feel like for some reason I don't think we got the internet until like 1998 or so. I could be wrong about that, and we could have been late to the party. Obviously, we lived out in the boondocks in East Tennessee, but regardless, I have my questions. Maybe a listener can point me in the right direction, but that layout looked awful lot like AIM, from what I gathered online about what AIM looked like in the 90s. And I don't know. Anyway, not to harp on one thing for too long. But and then we get to meet these other characters here. My man Josh is just like me. When I see a girl I'm crushing on, I also just start reciting cheat codes to video games for no reason. Like, he's just like me for real. I love that. That was so funny to me. He's like, left, right, up there. I laughed my ass off at that. I love that guy. And then, we get some more great 90s music here. When she gets on the bus, we get Cypress Hill, followed by some Radiohead, just elite stuff. I love it. Dead Meat James had an issue with it. He said it's like they're too much. It was like an overload of 90s music. I disagree completely. I thought it was great. And then we're at this vigil. This is a weak-ass brawl, man. Very disappointing. These kids don't know how to fight for shit. You let the athletes of my school and the athletes of our rival school get on the same football field at that time, and tensions are high like this. Yeah, there was like 6 people, and they were coupled off. So 3 fights going on. Everyone else just circled around watching. That's weak. And then this is you guys mentioned this is a terrible bus driver. If you think back to Billy Madison, Chris Farley was ready to turn the damn bus around just because a paper wad hit him in the head. And this kid's letting him open the back door and throw a cooler out?
And that is correct.
Like, what the hell's going on? And the door beeps when you open the back door on a bus. I do remember that. And it was that way in the 90s because, we may have got in trouble for doing that a time or two. But the door, it's not just a beep, too. It's an annoying ass. The driver would have heard that. The driver would have stopped unless the inmates are running the asylum and it was a kid driving the bus. But also, this wreck, I place a lot of the blame on the driver of that car. You saw the kids open the damn door and they're acting like they're going to heave a cooler at you. I probably put the brakes on. What are you doing? Like, you just got to let them do it. That went on for forever. It was like 3 solid minutes of him. Ooh, I wonder if they're going to do it. Oh my God, they threw a cooler at me like you didn't see it coming. So I put the blame on you, Peter, dumbass. But overall, it's a solid open. There's a lot going on to keep my attention and just please the nostalgia factor and just, I was a kid at this time, but still there's a nostalgia there. And, it's an interesting storyline. I'm invested in these characters already, so yeah, I'm in.
All right, Sam exits the car injured as the other guys ask if they're okay. Sam crawls on the ground and her blood drips into the earth. She places her hand down and she has visions. Dina runs up to Sam asking if she's okay. Simon and Kate walk up and he quizzes her, seeing if she's okay as well. Sam spits blood up on his shirt as an ambulance arrives taking Sam to the hospital. Dina gives Sheriff Nick her testimony. She says it was just an accident. Nick says, I'm on your side. The guy driving the car hugs her, saying his car is totaled and she's fucking dead. Next day, Josh wakes Dina up and he says Dad got called about the accident last night. She gets out of bed and we see Martin, the janitor, being interviewed. Dina calls the hospital to speak to Sam. The doorbell rings and she yells for Josh to answer. Sam's mom realizes it's Dina and she tells her not to call there anymore. She answers the door, but no one is there now. She sees someone dressed as Skull Mask and blames it on Peter. The person runs off and Josh asks if the pizza is ready. Dina sees Skull Mask outside the kitchen window and she grabs a weapon, calling him pathetic. Kate has 2 little girls bag up her drugs and tells them not to eat them. They're deadly. Kate asks Simon why he's still wearing the same clothes and she calls Dina. Dina says Peter is fucking with her. We hear a window shatter and Kate and Simon see Skull Mask sniffing his blood-soaked shirt. They look back in the living room and see he's gone now. Kate drops the girls off with a neighbor. Kate and Simon are at Dina's now. She says to kill that pervert. Kate says fuck Sam too, not just Peter. The 4 load up and go to the hospital. Kate asks for Nurse Betty, and Dina says she needs to see a patient. Dina walks into Sam's room, and Sam has no clue what's going on. Sam says it's not possible that Peter stalked them. He's been here the whole time. Josh uses a secret code and gets the vending machine to drop all the candy. Sam and Dina argue now. Sam calls her total chaos. Peter is stabbed from behind, and we see Skull Mask. Dina hits him, and she and Sam run out of the room. The two girls run by the three at the vending machine, yelling for them to run. The three go to hijack an ambulance. Sam and Dina find the receptionist dead, and they see Nurse Betty stabbed and killed. The two take off running, but Skull Mask catches Sam. They fight him off, and Dina realizes it's Ryan Torres, who was thought to be dead. They run to the ambulance, and they all escape. Sheriff interrogates Martin, and he calls him Sheriff Motherfucking Evil. Sam and Dina are telling a deputy who the killer was. Josh and Kate argue on them being so close to the police station in a stolen ambulance. Simon leaves to go take a leak. Dina tells Nick Good that's who they saw. It was Ryan Torres. Sheriff doesn't take them serious, and he goes to take a call from a woman at the hospital. Simon walks down the street towards a girl singing. Dina jumps on the officer saying he's supposed to protect them. He tells them to get out and relax, and we see his gun is missing now. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
So, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the makeup effects in this movie. Holy shit, I think they're great. Christopher Nelson, his entire team, I think, did a phenomenal job in this movie, and really throughout the entire trilogy. I'm not sure if I shouted him out in the 78 review we did, but I wanted to now. I do think it's absolutely ridiculous that Sarah Fier's remains are just chilling there on the side of the road under some leaves after hundreds of years. I mean, that's one of the most eye-rolling plot points in this entire movie. And I know it's official later, but it already bothers me here. I mean, yeah, it almost could be construed as the blood in the dirt here, but we find the other out later, and it's just ridiculous all the way around. It also seemed to get dark again pretty damn quick the next day. I know they tried to explain it away as Dina sleeping all day, but it was just daytime. You woke up, called Sam's room, and now it's dark again. Okay. Well, we also get the hardly anyone is in the hospital trope, but I've harped on that enough, in the past. But Jesus, nobody is in this entire goddamn town, it appears. I will say I like how it jumped into the action, though. There's not a lot of wasted time, in my opinion. Yeah, it's established they're babysitting, and then bam, they waste no time being attacked. Cool to also get the Nurse Lane cameo here, which we learn more about in the next one. So that's something you wouldn't catch until your rewatch here. And I always think that's a good writing. I'll always like those little tidbits they throw in there for you to catch later. Not real sure why Skullface kills the hospital workers and Peter here. It didn't establish that they had Sam's blood on them. And, we see later on a precedent that's set when ghosts walk right by everyone else looking for Sam. But if the reason was just more deaths, I'm okay with it. Receptionist death sucked, though, because it was off screen. But the Nurse Betty stabbed to the throat I thought was fucking awesome. And the last thing I'll say is I think stealing the ambulance was dumb. Again, where the hell is everyone? But okay. And the cop would have immediately thrown Dina in jail for assaulting him, much less no way she can get his gun. But suspending belief there, and those are just my nitpicks for this set of scenes.
Yeah, this is probably the section I had the least amount of notes on, honestly, just because, it's kind of the build-up to where stuff starts to happen. I like this interaction with Sam and Dina in the hospital, though. Like, I think, we kind of needed to hear more about what everyone is, and then, like you said, they waste no time getting to the killing, though. So I guess that's good. I like Skullface, I like the Skullface killer, but it is almost too much like Ghostface. Like it's. I kind of just would rather see this movie as a Scream movie at this point. Like, it is kind of like not a ripoff, but it's so similar. It's kind of wild. But I do like a lot of these kills. Nurse Betty's a great kill. Not my favorite kill because I think I've already spoiled that one. But, there are some hospital workers that get killed that don't make sense with the rules in like the lore they try to set up later. So I'm kind of like, that was a miss to me. Here's the stuff with Sheriff Good. I don't think they did a good enough job, personally. Small nitpick in a movie that in a movie trilogy that I really enjoy. I don't know if they did a good enough job setting up Sheriff Good as like this good guy, to me, that like to divert there was always something a little off about him and the family and everything else. Like to me, they didn't do a good enough job kind of making him a red herring for maybe another villain. Like I just kind of had gut feeling that he was always going to turn out to be or his family was always going to turn out to be kind of a piece of shit. So, and you get that he just has that smirk about him. Well acted. I really like the character, but I would have liked a little more disguise. So when the reveals come, spoiler, if you haven't seen them, that's again on you as you listen to a review. But I like the characters. I just wish they had maybe hid their evilness a little bit better here. He is kind of smarmy, so I think that's, he's smarmy with the, he makes the Night of the Living Dead or the Dawn of the Dead joke, which I thought was pretty funny. And the fact that they could take this cop's gun, last thing, I mean, I don't understand. To me, it's a little bit of a leap in logic that that guy can have his gun stolen that fast without realizing it. Yeah, but I mean, again, this is probably my least favorite set of scenes outside of the Nurse Betty kill because I think it's really good. But like, there just isn't a ton of like story here. It's a little bit of just like background or a little bit of like building upon where we get to the end of this set of scenes kicks us off into some of my favorite stuff in the film. So I'm glad it's here. I just wish there was a little bit more to take notes on, I guess.
Yeah, this is probably my least favorite set of scenes as well. I don't have many notes on it either, but I do like this stuff with Dina seeing the person in the costume, seeing Skullface outside her house here. I mean, that's just classic horror stuff, looking out and seeing him and then disappears and all that. Same with him being in the house with Kate and the kids and then disappearing when they take their eyes off him. Like, that's just classic horror 101. I love that. It was weird to me at first with him just rifling through the clothes in the living room and then escaping without, doing anything, but it makes sense later. So I forgave it. But you mentioned Where Is Everyone? Why didn't they call the cops? Like, instead, like, they don't never once, Kate and Simon, they don't ever once try to go to the cops. Like Dina did, and they don't believe her, but they never try to call the cops. They just instead take the kids to a different babysitter and like, all right, we're going to handle it ourselves. Like, no, dumbasses, that's not how the real world works. I don't like the Nurse Betty storyline at all because it's too brief and it does absolutely nothing for the story. Like, okay, I get it. This may be where she's getting all the pills that she's selling or whatever, but it's just like, hey, here's Nurse Betty. He'll break the rules and take you to see a patient after hours, and then he dies. Like, we didn't need him to get to where we're going in the story. Like, we didn't need him for Dina to get to Sam. They could have just had her come in and sneak by the security officer to go see Sam. Like, that's all we needed. I don't know. It just was kind of senseless to me. And then, like I said, you said, where is everyone? Where's security here? Or if not security in this hospital, like nurses, doctors, etc. Like, someone just waltzes in a skull costume, stabs someone, and no one notices. No one reacts to the screams. And I get it. The front desk lady, like, she's found with her throat slit, and Nurse Betty gets it too. But still, there's like no one in this hospital, and it's unbelievable to me. And another thing, in addition to or playing off of the where is everyone, like, okay, the cops called Dina's dad because of the wreck or whatever, but where the fuck is her dad at? This motherfucker work around the clock. We don't see him one time in this entire movie.
Nope.
So, okay, I guess I get it. The single dad's got to work and all this, but Sam and the Sunnyvellers, like, they play it off like he's just an alcoholic. When's he got time to drink? My man's working his ass off. He just wants to have a cold beer. But, overall, like I said, this is my least favorite set of scenes just because of the lack of realism. Stealing guns, stealing ambulances. No one is anywhere in this town except for the kids. I'll pass on this set of scenes.
All right, Simon makes it to the girl on the road and he sees cuts on her face. She smiles at him and cuts him. Dina reveals she stole the cop's gun. We see Simon being attacked in the road. She cuts his neck, but she's shot from behind. Simon runs from her, and Sam sees her getting back up, unfazed essentially. Simon doesn't know who the girl was. He says she had a razor blade. Josh is asking more questions, and he tells them it's Ruby Lane. He shows them a newspaper article on her. It happened in 1965. She's a Shadyside killer, just like Skull Mask. Josh now gives them the history on Shadyside killers. Normal people just turn into psychos. The first recorded killer was Cyrus Miller back in 1666. Sam walks out and retches up blood. Dina joins her in the kitchen, bringing her a sweater. Sam asks what's happening to us. Josh says it's Sarah Fear. She's turning Shadysiders into killers. Josh gives the history on her now all the way back from 1666. Kate asks why is she so mad at us. Sam walks in saying she saw her. I saw the witch. The group is in the woods now looking around where Sam saw Sarah and explains what happened. Sam finds a chain in the ground and a skull and bones pop up. They find a lock with the name Fear on it. Josh says her henchmen are after us. Simon says let's undisturb them and rebury her. Josh says that's genius. Sam's nose begins to bleed again and she wipes it and grabs hold of a bone and she has more visions. Josh says we need to hurry as Sam hears a woman's voice whisper, it's you. A masked killer with an axe runs at Sam and they all run to the ambulance and speed away. Josh says maybe it's her missing hand. Sam says they're coming for her, not us. She disturbed her grave. Kate slams the brakes and says it's not coming after us. It was sniffing Sam's blood. Josh says she is the bait and let's give them what they want. Sheriff walks into the hospital seeing all the dead bodies. He sees some blood and a locket in the street. We're at the school now as they take clothes from the lost and found to change. Kate asks Josh to accompany her. She doesn't want to go in alone. Sam takes her sweater off so Dina can cover the wound up. Simon changes and Kate asks Josh if he thinks this will work. She asks him to help her. He goes in the stall. Sam says it's all my fault. When I went to Sunnyvale, I was running away from you. Sam says tonight's the first time I felt like myself in months. You make me feel like me. Kate asks Josh to make sure her back is clean. And I wrote, my man is nervous. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. He says she's all good. He asks what if tonight is it for us. He leans in for a kiss as we see Dina and Sam kiss passionately. They stop when they hear a noise. Simon smiles and asks if they all went to Pound Town. He says, me too. They all begin to set up traps with Sam's blood. Dina asks if she's sure she wants to do this. See you on the other side. All right, Bryan, go ahead. That's the next set of scenes.
Man, all right. So, look, the first part of this, I love the Ruby Lane scene. I thought it was creepy as hell with her singing. Now, give me her in a back alley or something instead of like right out in the middle of the street in, again, an abandoned city, apparently. Is any extras in this movie? Mm-hmm. I mean, aren't extras free? Like, come on. You know, and you went through all the trouble to steal the gun, Dina, then shoot her twice and drop the gun and run away. Not that it would have helped a ton, but I think I would have kept that one. Now, upon a rewatch, after finishing up the trilogy, you know, hearing Josh tell the stories of all the killers, I kind of want him to go back and do Fear Street 1965 with Ruby Lane and Fear Street 1950 with Milkman, not Nico, because Nico's nickname's Milkman, but the one that was in the thing, and 1922 with the boy Billy. You know, somehow maybe tie some stuff in with them. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a writer, but man, I want to see them now, especially after the flashbacks. Now, is this kind of the cop-out trope that I complain about a lot, where they just sit around and figure everything out, a la Freddy versus Jason? Yes, absolutely. But I'm willing to let it go here. What I'm not willing to let go, I've already made clear, is my girl's bones being under some damn moss. You can't see my face right now, but I'm side-eyeing some damn writers right now. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it does. And now my favorite killer popping up in Sackhead Jason, Nightwing Tommy, AC Slater was badass. Like, he should have killed Josh, and it's kind of ridiculous that he didn't get anyone during this offensive possession. But I'll leave that nitpick alone for now. The other thing I won't really leave alone, though, is the forced relationship with Josh and Tatum/Kate. Have Dina and Sam have their few minutes together. That makes sense. But Josh and Kate and masturbation station over here, Mr. Simon, no, that's dumb as hell. I hate it.
Oh, gee. Oh, you're done? I thought you were going to end on masturbation station. You threw me for a loop there. Okay. I said the exact same thing as you, which was, why is no one on these streets? This downtown area is dead. Y'all got to revitalize that shit. Put some fancy stuff. Haven't you ever watched South Park? Just go full soda sopa. Dustin gets that reference, as along with others. But, no, I mean, this happens out in the middle of the street, which I do like the Ruby Lane stuff, though. I think it's really creepy. It's probably maybe the scariest little section of the film, at least to me. Like, it's done really creepy and really well. I like the character. I also want to go back and see all these killers get their own movie, which rumor has it they're working on them. They're in pre-production. That's the rumor. So I think that's really cool. And I'm glad that we get just a little glimpse here to what those movies may end up being. But I really like the scene. I like how they shoot her in the head. Like, it looks really, like, I really like everything that happens to her. I do wish it had taken place somewhere else, though, because the dead street just, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that made it a little creepier. I'm not sure. But, it's funny how how they just find what looks like chicken bones on the side of the road here. When not the skull, but everything else kind of looks like, wing bones. I ate wings tonight, so that's how I know. They're like wing bones on the side of the road covered in red moss. Like, I don't know, as good as the effects are in this movie and like the props and stuff, I feel like the bones of Sarah Fear kind of lack in that department, at least to me. And to find them so randomly on the side of the road does nothing for me. Like, I wish there's got to be a better way to do that than just finding it on the side of the road, especially when dumbass Sam just nosebleeds all in it again. Like, come on, man, you got to be a little bit better and sharper than that. You know what happened the last time. But actually did help him. Then you get Nightwing, which I'm with you. Like, I would have liked to at least one core member of this group be actually killed, like here by Nightwing. I think by the way, you could see that would have solved the problem right there that comes here in a minute. You could have killed Simon. You could have killed Simon. Like, that would have been okay if Nightwing just off with your head. Like, that would have been really cool. Anyway, small thing there, I guess. But in the van, I do like the fact that they realize, we should just throw Sam to the wolves. Which, by the way, if I were anybody else but Dean, I would have said the exact same thing. Man, get your ass out the car, man. They're after you. So I'm with them on that. I like how they kind of start to set up. We set up the killers with the blood and the mop and everything. Like, I really like that they're trying to draw them in. I like that. And I like that Sam and Dina kind of get their own little intimate time. I am with you 100% though, Brian. This is such a forced relationship between Josh and Kate. Like, I don't really understand it. And it's only because it's not forced because, like, it's not like, these two would never meet and hook up. I mean, that's fine. But the way that Josh is introduced is that, like, annoying little shithead brother. And I know that, James said the same thing. And, like, I had that feeling watching it. I was like, man, why are we doing this, like, relationship, especially when we know what comes later? Like, I just don't think it works. And then you get my man just masturbating in the mirror, which, I don't know, that's weird. That's some, like, really psychopathic tendencies to me. That's American Psycho, if you ask me. But again, I really like this set of scenes. A lot happens. There's some good kills. Really big fan of this set of scenes.
So yeah, this set of scenes, man, is really where I just absolutely hate Simon. This guy's annoying as hell.
Thank you. God,
he was annoying when he was wearing the witch costume earlier, and then he just pisses on the side of a building out in the open, like right in the middle of the street. Again, where is everyone? And then a cop car rides by him. Dude's got his dick out in public, and the cop car just rides by him and doesn't even blink twice. Like, I get it, you got bigger fish to fry because you hear there's murder, but anyway, I'm not mad at him getting sliced up. But, by Ruby Lane here, he deserved worse than that. I would have been okay with him dying right here. But anyway, also, Dina is a pretty good shot for someone who I'm assuming this is probably the first time she's ever shot a gun. Here's how I came to that conclusion. Earlier, if you remember, she gave that shoebox to Sam with all her shit in it. There was a anti-gun sticker on that shoebox. It was a gun with a circle and a line through it. So she's so anti-gun, I'm assuming this is her first time ever firing gun. One shot, one kill. Like, it's on the money like that.
Good
but
catch.
my issue is bigger than that. Why the hell even take the risk of stealing a gun from a cop if you're just going to one shot and drop it in the street and run off? Okay, fuck right off with that. But I do like that we get the backstory with all the shady side killers here, showing us how far back this goes. It really lays the groundwork for part 2 and 3 of this trilogy. I thought it was really well done. I like that my man Josh is able to do that there. Now, I could be wrong. I could be way off in my line of thinking here, but if I'm driving a stolen ambulance, I probably wouldn't have the flashing lights on while I'm driving this stolen ambulance, drawing more attention to myself. Like,
There's nobody in the town to see you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is a ghost town, literally, because there's ghosts chasing everyone. But anyway, and then as they come to this master plan, let's put all these clothes from the Lost and Found just to show that we've got a pretty good 90s collection here. Our budget did allow us to go to the Goodwill and get some cool 90s clothes for this movie. But as they're plotting to go in and change, Kate's like, wait, I don't want to go in by myself. And then she walks in by herself. I get it, Joshua's walking in behind her, but my man had to stop and say his cheat code to get his power. Like, she was in there for a solid 5 to 10 seconds by herself. That's more than enough time for her to get unalived. So that's stupid. Just wait for him if you don't want to go in by yourself. But this part, this part in particular really drags to me because I don't need quirky weirdo dancing in the mirror and jacking off in his tighty whities. I don't need Sam and Dina getting all intimate and, leaving each other with blue balls there. I don't need Josh and Kate in the stall getting their first kiss. Like, what are we doing here? It adds nothing to the storyline to me. And it takes up a good 5 minutes of runtime that's just completely unnecessary. The only thing that comes of it is we do get the funny line when Simon asks if everyone went to Pound Town. Me too. Like that is funny.
That's funny. But they spent a lot of time setting that one line.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was funny.
Just went way too. Did you say you didn't think it was funny?
Nah, I didn't think it was funny. By the way, my first kiss was in a bathroom stall too.
Oh
no, not really. I was just kidding. That was a lie.
Yeah, it was unnecessary. Went on too long, and it really killed an otherwise solid set of scenes. I mean, yeah, I have my nitpicks with it, but it gave us a lot of good because we got the backstory with the whole Shady Side stuff, and that was very crucial to the overall story of the three movies. So phenomenal stuff there, but I don't need all the teenage blue balls. Don't need it.
All right, Josh is mopping the gym floor with her blood as we hear someone enter the school. Simon is mopping the floor as well as he runs to the others. He saw Ruby Lane. We now see all the Sunnyside killers following the blood trail. Kate says, if this doesn't work, I'm murdering you, to Dina. All the killers go into the bathroom where Sam was. Sam sneaks out through the vent, and they ignite the bathroom on fire, and we hear the killers all scream. They're extinguishing the fire now, and Josh sees the melted flesh all forming back together. They run out, and Kate says, we put Sam in the hall and end this now. Kate shows Dina all the newspaper articles and says Sam's got to go. Sam says Kate's right. I don't want you all to die for me. I'm ending this. Sam goes into the hallway to sacrifice herself. The killers walk towards her as Dina fights Simon off of her. Josh sees an article and has an epiphany. They snatch her back inside the room. He says the name, C. Berman. She's the key. If she survived, there may be a way for me to live. They call C. Berman but get her answering machine. Dina and Josh tell her they need her help. Sam says she died. She survived, but first she died. She survived by dying. Dina says we kill you and bring you back to life. Tommy gets to the door finally and sees they've all ran out the school and drove away. Sheriff Nick writes a note and drops it through a mail slot. It's happening again. We're inside a grocery store now. Simon tells of a boy named Timothy who ingested too much of a substance and died but was revived in 2 minutes. They begin dividing up pills and Sam marks an X on the other's chest with her blood. Kate kisses Josh again. Simon is so proud of him. Simon says to Josh, Kate is not nice. She sees something in you. We have to keep these psychos away from Sam. Sam asks, what if we fuck up and just kill me? Dina says, even though we're in hell, I feel like we have a chance again. We're going to go on a date and have the best night ever, but first you got to die. Sam takes the first round of pills. Kate begins to put items in a basket as she hears a metal clanging noise. Josh hears a loud bang now. Sam begins to feel the side effects and Dina shoves more pills down her throat. They begin to hear Ruby Lane sing from a distance. Sam tells Dina to look behind her as Skull Mask runs up on them. Kate saves the day, shooting it with hairspray and fire. And the next set of scenes are the ending. What do you think, Bryan?
Now, this bit of the school, I do like. I think it's legitimately a great plan. Again, don't really understand why the ghosts don't kill the others. And truthfully, I think it would have been really cool to maybe have at least Nightwing Killer hose somebody here and throw their plan all off. I mean, plus, like, he was running and the other ghosts were walking, so I don't know how they got to the door at the same time anyway. I guess I just wanted their plan to not go off so well without a hitch is all. Plus, we got some of their deaths soon anyway, so why not just, one or two here before the grocery store? Just knock them out. Big props to Paul Graff, the VFX supervisor. I think the effects look great. For example, the hand after the pieces start coming back together, and some of the other kills in the supermarket too. I thought it really looked great. Graff has done There Will Be Blood, Game of Thrones, Maze Runner, and more recently Stranger Things season 4. He and his team, it's definitely not just him because he's a supervisor. His entire team, I think, does a great job, especially in this. I think it was a bit of a mess up, but when Tommy Sackface was swinging that axe in the hallway as they, pull Sam back in, you can definitely tell the actor held back some on that first swing. He did not swing that axe like a champion. Now, when he was walking, I don't know if it was because I wanted to see it, but in the dark with the camera pointing up, I could have sworn I saw some flashes of a hockey mask. If true, very cool. If not true, don't tell me. Let me have my thing. Now, when he's trying to break through the door, the way Lee places the camera on the floor is exactly like the shot in The Shining with Jack Torrance when he was locked in the fridge. Cool homage there, I thought. Some nitpicks here. I'm ready to get the ending where, some badass kills go down.
Yeah, to me, this set of scenes just kind of feels like a setup for what we're about to get in the ending, which I think has a lot of badass stuff. But I do like, I mentioned it in my last set of scenes and I jumped the gun a little bit, but I do like the stuff that we get here in the school where they're kind of trying to set up the killers. It is normally in a horror movie, we complain a lot about not having good ideas, like people do really stupid things. This seems like a pretty, outside of throwing Sam to the wolves, which I would have done, is the smartest thing. The logical thing to do is that, we're going to try to get them all here and we're going to try to kill them. Okay, that makes sense to me, and I think it makes for some really cool scenes, especially the head of the dummy in the bathroom stall. Like, I really like that. And by the way, hashtag Team Sack. Thought I'd forget, but absolutely not. You know what the vibes are, everybody at home. Hashtag Team Sack, always. But again, there's just not a whole lot else that happens in this set of scenes to me. It's not my least favorite. That'd be the second. Because, you do get some really good, tense, suspenseful stuff in the school. But, I mean, once we get to the grocery store, I feel like it's just where the movie really tends to pick up. So I don't have a whole lot here. I think it's fun. I like what we're doing, but I don't really have a whole lot other than I think it's kind of maybe could have been trimmed down just a little bit. When Dustin talked about some of the stuff that could have been trimmed down, I feel like you could have trimmed this scene and made it this set of scenes and made it a little shorter.
All right, so I want to start by saying that, look, I get being resourceful, and it's a commendable idea on the trap part, but committing arson and setting your school on fire to kill dead people, that's an odd logic.
I'm pretty sure nobody's there to even get them in trouble anyway. I don't think anybody's even in the city, so.
But, and I do like the reveal of the loophole here. Like, it's a cool idea and a premise for how to win. Once she's dead, she'll release her whole, that's a cool premise here. Okay, I get it. But just like, I think it was 1978, that review, when I coined the term, here's our Full House moment. Well, here we go. It's a theme in these damn Fear Street movies. Here's our Full House moment with Simon telling Josh that Kate sees something in him. She would do this. She's not a nice person. She sees something in you, blah, blah. And then we get Sam and Dina talking about how I have a second chance with you and blah, blah, blah. Come on, bro. Like, this really is dragging on. Well, it just... The last set of scenes drug on when they're in the bathrooms making out and touching themselves, and then this drags on even more because we don't get a funny one-liner at the end of it. Just okay, I'm done with this. Let's move forward here. And then, so while all this is going on, we move around a little bit. The next time we see Sam, she's high as giraffe pussy. Like, what the fuck? It's tough watching her being force-fed these pills. Did not like that at all. Like, they could have just said she took them. We didn't need to see her struggling like that. I'm sure that was triggering to some people watching the movie. That was just uncomfortable to watch. But it's an okay set of scenes. I just felt like it drug on for too long. And, we did have some cool revelations and ideas here, but I'm ready to get going. And this is what I was talking about, the pacing. Like this set of scenes, the pacing's too slow for me. Not enough's happening, and I'm ready to go home. Let's get to the action.
All right, guys, here's the ending. Sam says, I need to die. They run towards a lobster tank. Kate hides but has her head grabbed from above by Skull Mask. Dina ducks Sam's head into the water. Simon hears Kate scream, but Ruby Lane is right behind them. He stabs her neck and gets away. Tommy swipes the axe at Josh, but he avoids it. Skull Mask stabs Kate in the stomach, then sticks her head into a bread slicer, killing her. Simon is killed as Tommy chops the axe right into his head. Josh runs to distract as he trips on an aisle, in an aisle. Sam drowns in the tank as she sees visions of Sarah Fear again. The killers disappear, and Dina pulls her out the tank. Josh runs to grab the epinephrine pins. They inject it into her chest repeatedly. Josh says everyone's dead. Dina begins to do chest CPR compressions. Come on, Sam, and she sits up, spitting up foam. Dina says it's okay, it's over. Nick records the interview with Dina, Josh, and Sam as they tell their story of what happened. Nick tells Sam she looks like a ghost, like he just came back from the dead. They pin everything on Kate and Simon. Nick apologizes. He says, I should have listened to you. Do you really want your friends going down for this? No, but they're dead. Martin asks Josh to get him on out the cuffs. Josh drops a paperclip on the ground by him, and Martin gives him a business card as they walk out. Sam's mom takes her away as Dina asks if she'll see her tomorrow. Sam says no. See you tonight as she kisses her in front of her mom. Back at Dina's house, and she gives her a cassette mixtape in the note she wrote, which she's edited several times. They listen to the tape while they lay in bed cuddling. The doorbell rings over and over, but it was just Josh ordering pizza. The phone rings now, and it's C. Berman. You're still alive. You called me. How I survived Camp Massacre. Dina says it's over. C. Berman says it's not over. You haven't stopped her. She'll do whatever it takes. You're not safe. She'll find a way. We see Sam's name etched into a rock. Dina turns around and is stabbed by Sam. Josh is back in his chat room. Josh says it wasn't Kate and Sam defending them. Sam and Dina are fighting and wrestling now, and Josh sees someone touching his shoulder. It's Dina with a stab wound. They go back upstairs, and we see Dina all tied up in the phone cord. We have to get her back. I'm going to get you back, Sam says. And Sam roars at Dina, and the screen says, to be continued. All right, Brian, what'd you think of the finale?
So, some hit, some miss, and one absolutely phenomenal fucking kill. I needed Nightwing to fuck up Josh, but I'll settle for that out of nowhere shot to the head on Simon. Let's go. I love that. And the big one. Holy shit. Paul Graff and your beautiful visual effects supervising ass and that bread slicer kill. Are you kidding me? That shit was incredible. A little tidbit about that. The art department tried to convince Lee Janik that a human head wouldn't go through a bread slicer. Why, art department? Like, what do you have against people being happy? I don't know. But regardless, to prove her wrong, they shoved her watermelon through a bread slicer to show her it wasn't possible, and it worked. So I don't know why you were trying to stop it anyway, damn art department. But also, just wanted to say, Ruby Lane, as the Bobs would say, what would you say you do here? I feel like sack face head Tommy and skull face is doing all the heavy lifting here. So come fuck on, Ruby Lane. Now, using 45 EpiPens to bring Sam back, I'm going to go with ridiculous as the term to describe that. I don't have a medical degree or anything, but I'm pretty sure using as many as they did is bad. I also think it's nuts that after she stabs you later on, you were somehow able to subdue her and tie her up with a phone cable. Look, we had one of those long-ass phone cables when I was growing up in the kitchen phone, before portable phones. And no, that isn't going to work, but whatever. One last tidbit, though, that whole scene with Sam stabbing Dina, it's a shot-for-shot recreation of Joaquin Phoenix, spoiler alert, being stabbed by Adrian Brody in The Village. Great movie, in my opinion. Sorry if you hadn't seen it. Anyway, all in all, yeah, it's just the first entry, so, there's a lot of loose ends, and it's left on the cliffhanger, which we discuss a lot more in the 78 review, so go check that out, don'tgooutthere.com. But I think it's a great start to the trilogy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny as we go through these. We all like this movie, but sometimes I like to nitpick the movies I like more than the movies I don't like. Like, it's kind of like a reverse thing in my brain where, like, I'll give credit to movies I don't like for doing something, and then I give nitpicks to movies I do like. It's like, oh man, this could have been just so much, even more great than it than it ended up being. But I love all the kills in the grocery store, man. Like, I think the axe out of nowhere to the head, I wish we would have gotten more, kind of like you. But, I mean, it's Simon had to die. And I mean, sorry, he was written on screen to want to die, at least I think so. And so if he was, then success on that. Man, this bread slicer kill is, again, one of my top 2 or 3 kills in all of horror movies. Like, it is fantastic. The effects are great. The idea is great. I'd never seen it before. I've seen a lot of different kills, a lot of recreations, similar ones, copycats. I hadn't seen anything like this done this way. And I thought it was really creative and a really awesome kill. It looks really realistic, too. That's really what it looks real. Now, is it realistic? I think someone's human head and skull would probably, clunk that up and it wouldn't work. But, man, bump all that. It is a really awesome kill where you go, holy shit, what the hell was that? Great kill on Kate. Sorry Kate had to die, but, I mean, it was what it was. Now, to some of the bad, this EpiPen stuff is ridiculous. I think that whole scene, while touching in a way, gets just way overboard with this EpiPen stuff. Like, bringing her back to life, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like we didn't necessarily need Sam to come back to life to continue the story. And I feel like that's why the end of this movie drags just a little bit. It doesn't know when to end almost, at least in my opinion. For a movie that has another one coming up, I feel like we could have been a little more tight on that. And just, if you're going to bring Sam back, maybe find a different way to either not kill her or bring her back. And then, they're going at each other and she's like possessed-ish, I guess. And there's...
What's wrong with just using the CPR? Like,
oh, I agree. 100%.
Why?
At least it's realistic, or, more realistic. Then Dina gets stabbed and still is able to tie her up. Like, there's just a lot that I think kind of drags the ending of the movie out. And I can tell when a movie doesn't know when to end. This kind of feels like it just didn't know when to end. Now, it ends on a good cliffhanger, so that's good. But I feel like we could have shortened that up, gotten to the cliffhanger, and let's move on to 78. So, again, a lot of good here, but some small stuff that I just, upon like my 6th time rewatching this movie, I caught a little bit more this time around.
All right, so I do think we get a pretty wicked face-off here with Skull Mask and Kate. Like, that's just good stuff. That's a good fight scene between a killer and a female lead here, or I guess side character. But here's the thing, though. Big issue with this finale. If drowning her was ever an option, then why the hell didn't they just do that first instead of trying to OD her? Like... That was, like I said, that was painful to watch her taking on those pills. And then if drowning her would have worked, then it seems easier, especially from Kate's standpoint, because that's her livelihood. She's just eating hundreds of dollars worth of product here. But, and then what a brutal fucking kill, man. That bread slicer was awesome. But, sorry, my condolences, Josh. I know that was your girl, but, maybe that cheat code will work on someone else. And I can't lie, I got a lot of gratification seeing Simon get his wig split with that axe. That was awesome. And then you want to talk about a death that happened right in the nick of time. My man Josh was dead to rights. He was fucked if she didn't drown right when she did. But it's we get very intense stuff here trying to bring Sam back to life. But if she breathed in water and she died by drowning, I would probably start by trying to clear the water from her lungs first. 19 EpiPens are great, but clearing the chest of the water, that's step number 1. I even asked a former nurse today to confirm I'm right. If you arrived on the scene, EpiPen wouldn't do shit in that situation until you get the water out of her lungs. They did that ass backwards. That's okay. Whatever. I do like the feel-good ending, quote-unquote feel-good ending that we get here with Sam, being brave and not being afraid to be who she really is, be herself in front of her mom there with Dina. That's good stuff. Or so we thought. Like, I like the pump fake here. I think that's good. Luring us into a false sense of security. Oh, this movie's going to end here. Not so fast. We got C. Berman calling her and setting up the sequel. I liked it. That's good stuff. Sam being so stoic while she stabs Dina and just being so calm while a fly buzzed around her head. Awesome. Very well done. Now, also the fly itself was a great way to show the possession had taken over here, because if you go back to the beginning of the movie, when Ryan is talking to her in the mall there's a fly on his neck. That's a nice little touch to let the viewer know what's going on without telling the viewer what's going on. The last thing I have, though, Josh is back on that computer, and man, the way these motherfuckers I am just drives me insane. Send your thoughts as one message, people. Stop using the send button as punctuation. But
never. You can't make me. Never.
Hey, you've actually been a lot better since I went on that rant. So
only with you because you pout.
Don't pout. I never even mentioned it. Just know that it bothers me. But no. Overall, I like the ending here. I really like the ending because it feeds in so nicely to what they did in the sequel in part 2. But overall, they really made up for the pacing issues that they had earlier by giving us this flurry of a finish.
All right, guys, jump into social media comments and questions. Let's do Facebook first. Dustin will not like Kevin Podoff's. Now this has real wow factor. Great story, lots of gore and kills to rival Scream. And no stupid Deputy Dwight Dewey. Ha! Eat that.
Wow, brother.
He seems like very worked up about that.
I don't know. It was funny, though.
Yeah. It's not funny. It's not funny at all.
Dustin's gonna reactivate his Facebook just to send him a strongly worded message.
No, I just want to say this, Kevin. Shadyville or Shadyside, Sunnyvale, they could have used a Deputy Dewey because they didn't have enough cops in this podunk town. Too much bad shit was going on.
That's true. Deputy Doofy's definitely the other one there. Oh, sorry.
Hey,
same guy.
He was just cleaning his room. He was just cleaning his room.
Hey, Dewey, Doofy, same guy.
All right, Michelle Merza commented, great pick. I love these movies. I feel like they really captured the 90s feel in this one, and it's got a great soundtrack. Okay. Hard to argue with that. I'll jump over to Instagram now. Rochelle Mack, she commented, I really like this series. I honestly expected it to be very PG-13 when I first put it on, but was pleasantly surprised. The bread cutter kill was awesome. It really felt like the perfect mix of cheesy teen movie and gory slasher. Fun watch for sure. I would agree with that. Danny C. Knapp's comment, I love the kills in this movie. Probably wouldn't have watched it if you guys weren't reviewing it, but I'm glad I did. Can't wait for the review. Okay. Jay Hamburg 88 commented, I really like this movie. The kills were good, and it was more mature than what I thought it would be. Definitely more than the books, LOL. I think a lot of people were caught off guard with how brutal it actually was. Queen is Elizabeth. Jesus Christ, I can't read. Queen is Elizabeth 717 commented, this is a great series. The ending was awesome. Only thing they could have cut out was some unnecessary dialogue to not be so long. Other than that, perfect. Okay. I wouldn't argue with that. M. Strickland 91 commented, damn, I really need to check this series out. Yes, you do, sir. And you can listen to our 1978 review at where, Bryan?
Don'tGoOutThere.com.
All right.
That's right.
Last comment on Instagram is from Chris_2020. Thought this was a promising start to a trilogy and loved the late 90s horror vibes. Although this movie has given me a slight aversion to bread cutters for some reason, with the wondering emoji. All right. I'll let you over to Twitter now. Big fan of the show. Randy Smith commented, go Dogs, of course. Great intro to horror movie that I could watch with my 12-year-old, but personally love the soundtrack as much as the movie. I put second in the trilogy number 1, number 2, 1994, and number 3, 1666. I agree with you, brother. And this is I like this question. I like this question from Sean. This whole trilogy was a lot of fun. I think it captured the 90s pretty well. Favorite killer in this movie? And, you know, y'all have kind of touched on you want to see, like, movies with other killers. And I agree to an extent. I don't want to see movies. I want to see, like, a Netflix short series with all of the backgrounds. Because I don't know if you can actually get, like, an hour-and-a-half movie for Billy Barker and, you know, all of them. But, you know, a little 30-minute episode for all of them, I'm here for it.
Yeah. That sounds good.
I don't want to see it. If they had half just stretched out, then it just sucks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, if they did it like this, where they're part of the another overarching story,
right?
That's what I was going to say. I can see them. They can do it if they do it like this. Just do a full movie on it. But also, I wouldn't be mad at mashing them up, like having it to where their two stories are so closely related that the timeline keeps jumping in a movie. So you got two killers in one movie. I wouldn't be mad at that.
But at the end of the day, I still want to see backgrounds for all of them. But which one was y'all's favorite? I'm going with what's the girl's name? The one in the road. I can't remember. Help me.
Ruby
Help
Lane.
me. Ruby Lane. I thought she was cool.
Ruby Lane. Yeah. Again, she's the creepiest part of the movie to me.
I like the little Billy boy. I want to see that. I want to
like
see
him
him.
Yeah.
too.
I don't know. Billy, I like him because like that's just creepy as shit. A kid wearing
creepy,
a mask,
that's
beating
why.
his parents' brains in like that.
Yep.
And anytime a movie takes a chance with a kid being the killer like that, boom, I'm in. Like I'm interested to see how that's going to go. But Ruby, because like Simon said, she's hot as shit and she's got an edge to her. I'm in. Like, I would fall victim to her.
You're sucked in again. It's free
Real-
fucking pizza again.
It's free pizza. She's my free
another
pizza.
TikTok coming. All right. I don't have any fun facts. Brian, Dustin, Mike, y'all got any fun facts you want to read?
I don't.
I don't.
All right. Well, let's just jump into our favorite
I
kill,
will
least
pick,
favorite kill, and the rating. Brian, it's your pick. You want to go first, or want me to kick it off?
You can get off, man.
Yeah, you haven't
All right,
talked much. Here you go.
I think Dustin. I think we all have the favorite kill. Kate, bread slicer. Really love that kill. It's great. But I'm gonna throw this out there. Simon's kill is really good too. Like I think, like when we did 78, the guy who got shot with the axe was my favorite kill. So Simon's got a really good kill too, but it's not as good as Kate's head in the bread slicer. Least favorite kill, just pick one of the found, off-screen bodies that you just find in the mall or in the hospital. You can just go with one of those. I've already kind of said off here, this is my second favorite in the trilogy, which doesn't make this a bad movie. I just like 78 better. I love Sadie Sink. She's great as the final girl. This movie has a great opening scene. It's got great kills. It's very interesting with all of the different killers. Like we've already said, I would like to see that explored a little more, how Sarah Fear took over all of them, which I mean, they might have in 1660s. I just can't remember. I ain't seen it in a long time. But, we've already discussed the things we have issues with. Some of the dialogue is forced. Some of the relationships are forced. Drags a little bit. And, I'm not the biggest 90s whodunit fan, but I do like this movie a lot. I gave 78 an 8. I'm going to give 94 a 7.
Okay. Hey, that's a lot higher than I thought you were going to go, brother.
I'll go
I
ahead and
enjoy
go
this movie
quick.
a lot more this watch.
So my favorite kill is obviously the bread slicer with Kate. Again, one of my favorite kills ever. My least favorite is pretty much everyone at the hospital. Like I don't really, again, it kind of defies the lore and the rules of the movie that they set up later. So I think those are not just bad kills, but I think they're kind of pointless kills. So yeah, I love this trilogy. I think it's a really fun trilogy just because at the time it was released, there really wasn't anything like it being done. Week after week after week, 3 in a row, a new movie came out and they all interconnected. And I know that, we get that a lot with like now with all the, Marvel stuff on Disney Plus. I know those are shows, but long episode, stuff like that. Like there's a universe built there with that stuff. But this is like a horror universe within itself because all 3 movies are so separately, they're very different. Each film follows a bunch of different horror tropes of their time, and I appreciate that about them. And this one clearly set in the 90s, which is a time period that I love as well. Again, hit you over the head with it. There's no doubt. There's a lot of bam 90s, but again, the soundtrack is killer. I love the way this movie is shot. It's very dark the whole time, even when it's sunny out. I think it's very dark. I like that. Like the acting enough. I think the cast does a really good job. So all of that being said, I gave this movie also, Nico, a flat 7.
All right. I can go ahead and go. So I lost my place. Sorry. Favorite kill to me was Kate. Obviously, just absolutely brutal, getting her head shoved in a bread slicer like that, and it looked great. Like if they hadn't shown the carnage afterwards, it would have still been a cool kill. That's what makes this one so great, is that they did show it and it looked great. Least favorite kill, yeah, I hear you. There's a lot of off-screen kills in this one that sucked, but I'm going with Sam. Just because I don't like how they force-fed her all those pills, only for that not to matter. Then they drown her in the lobster tank, and then the order in which they tried to revive her was ridiculous. Like the EpiPen wouldn't be your first step. The whole situation just pissed me off so bad that I went with Sam as my least favorite kill. As far as the movie, it's an enjoyable movie on surface level. Like, it's a fun watch, but I feel like it does drag on too much in parts. There's also some flawed logic throughout the movie, not just the kill Sam's part there, but and a lot of stuff that just didn't hit for me. It's not bad, but I definitely did enjoy the second one more. I gave the second one a 6.75, so I'm gonna go with the flat 6 on this one.
Okay. Favorite kill, let's be serious. The bread slicer, one of the best kills I've ever seen, much less in this movie. But since everyone went with that, I'm going to call an audible on the fly and go with my number 2 choice, the stab to Nurse Betty's neck. I thought that looked really cool. My least favorite kill, the hospital receptionist, that was off screen, so definitely going to go with that one. I'm not going to say too much here. I think the cast had great chemistry. If I had to use a word to describe this, Dustin said it in the opening. I'd echo that and say it was fun and definitely worth watching. I gave part 2 a 7. I'm going to give this one an 8.5.
Okay. So that gives us a composite score of 7.125, a little higher than IMDb has it. The average rating on there is a 6.2.
Well, what the hell do they know? Fuck them.
Any final thoughts before I just shout out our blood donors and Mike can announce his pick for next week?
Let's do it, man.
All right. Fun, good pick, Brian. I'm glad you picked it. It's a great way to kick the year off. Camper level reoccurring are Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, Brian Samick, and Gail Kuntz. Camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Heather Smith, Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia, Adrian Aiello, Jake Hambrick, Clay Moore, Karen, and our new camp counselor, blood donor, Matt Strickland. And he's also a legendary blood donor, Matt Strickland, who we have to do a film review to do for. Appreciate all of our blood donors. Y'all take a big burden off of us. We really appreciate it. Mike, announce your pick for next week, brother. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I've decided we're going to redo Army of the Dead, so everyone get ready to go. Look. Oh, my bad.
Why are you the way that you are, Mike?
My bad. Okay, actually, I'm picking a movie because Dustin wouldn't let me pick it last
not true. I didn't even start that discussion. I just backed Bryan up.
You're right, but you really dug your heels in, which is fine. It's fine because I forgot that January was a freelance pick, so I should have just used it there, and that's okay. I'm actually picking with something that came out last year, 2022, Ty West's X. Very excited to review this movie. First time I watched it, I was like jaw on the floor. I've watched a couple more times since. Really like this movie. I love the plot. I love the characters. I love the cast. Like, I think this is a really good watch. I don't know how rewatchable it is, but I love the characters in the universe that Ty West is building. So I'm excited to finally be able to talk about it.
No, that movie's awesome, Mike. I really like it. Just want to thank all our fans. We really appreciate it. Like I said in Constantine last week, over 3 years of doing the show, it truly means a lot to me that we have so many fans who are blood donors and, comment on all of our posts every week. It means a lot that we have people all over the damn world who like our show. And I just want to say thank you again. We really appreciate it. And y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody,